I'm not sure which is the best monkey insult Charlton Heston hurls in this movie. You damn dirty ape, or you bloody baboon. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainely Movies. To kick off my Planet of the Apes review series, today I'm going to be talking about the first film in the franchise, 1968's sci-fi adventure, Planet of the Apes. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content, like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all that extra content. Planet of the Apes stars Charlton Heston, Kim Hunter, and Roddy McDowall, and was directed by Franklin J. Schaffner. Based on Pierre Boulle's 1963 novel of the same name, it tells the story of an astronaut who finds himself stranded 2,000 years in the future on a planet run by hyper-intelligent apes. It's always interesting to me how certain films are generally remembered. Not the fact that they are remembered, but rather the ways in which they're remembered. The things about them that stick with people through the years. Now, obviously, cinephiles and big fans of a particular movie will probably remember more and have at least slightly more nuanced memories, but what about general audiences, or the average person on the street? How do they remember a film like Planet of the Apes? This movie may be a bit of a special case, because it's currently slightly more in the public eye because of the reboot trilogy and resulting surge of franchise fans, but even so, most people, perhaps reductively, remember this first Planet of the Apes as that talking monkey movie. Obviously, Planet of the Apes is a little bit more than just a talking monkey movie, though that aspect is certainly one of its most entertaining features. It's broadly regarded as a science fiction classic, giving rise to one of the earliest and most successful sci-fi franchises, at least in the US. And this is a film that has many of the expected sci-fi notes of the time period. It's got a futuristic setting, space travel, complete with astronauts crash landing on a dangerous planet. It's a space exploration movie. It's a survival film, as Charlton Heston's Taylor and his fellow crewmates try to survive the elements and eventually the planet's titular apes. It seems a little strange watching the movie now, but this was a film and franchise that was heavily marketed to young kids. Although comparatively tame by today's standards, the action-adventure in this movie was a big draw for people, and along with the talking monkeys, was something that audiences, especially kids, enjoyed and remember about the movie. Now, I think the general sci-fi premise is really interesting, and the action-adventure, albeit a bit repetitive, is entertaining, but unlike a lot of people, they're not the things I remember most about this movie, nor are they what keep me coming back to rewatch it. For me, it's the ideas. The science, the courtroom scene, the variety of themes that are touched on. This is definitely the type of movie that you can watch and enjoy on multiple levels, including just pure entertainment if you want it. But I think a lot of people forget, or maybe just underappreciate, how smart this movie is. I mean, as we've already established, it's easy to think of this film as just a silly sci-fi movie with talking monkeys, but it's actually got a lot to say about society and humanity. Planet of the Apes is an allegorical tale that touches on so many different themes: prejudice and xenophobia, racism and classism, the role of science in society, the conflict between science and religion, animal testing, dishonest leaders and government cover-ups, conflict and nuclear war. A film with that much social commentary could obviously be a bit of a tough sell, but that's part of the genius of this movie. It doesn't present it as blatant social commentary. Instead, it frames it all through a role-reversed sci-fi lens, focusing on an intelligent ape society, but really highlighting our own human issues. Presenting these themes and ideas using talking monkeys makes it all more palatable and enjoyable, which in turn makes people much more likely to be receptive to the ideas, perhaps without even realizing it. In order to showcase this role-reversed ape society, the film presents things through Taylor's perspective. He's our main character, and who we're supposed to be rooting for. Now, he's alright, and necessary to show the full impact of the story, but to me, the simian characters are much more interesting, especially Zira and Cornelius. They're easily my favorite characters, not only in this movie, but the franchise as a whole. They're surprisingly fleshed out. They're funny, they've got good chemistry, they're wholly realized characters, to the point where even though, for all intents and purposes, Taylor is the main character, they feel just as main as he does. Zira is an especially interesting case because she's a pretty progressive character for a 1960s sci-fi film. Yes, she's a chimpanzee, but not only is she a female scientist who's in charge of an entire research program, but she's also a character who's not intimidated. She has strong opinions, strong beliefs, strong values, and isn't afraid to speak them, even to authority. And she's not just talk either. She's the one who puts a lot of the film's plans into motion. She's the one who convinces Cornelius to get involved. Without Zira, this would be a very, very different movie. But since we talked about this great female character, we've got to talk about one that's not so great. Nova. Nobody ever really seems to talk about Nova when discussing this film, and I guess that's not that surprising, because she's such a nothing character, but still. While not a huge detracting feature, I do think that Nova is the film's biggest misstep. Her role in the book is slightly bigger and more involved, but in this film version especially, her sole purpose is to provide Taylor with a love interest, something that's as unnecessary as it is dull here. I have nothing against Linda Harrison's performance. This is just a poorly written character. No development, no arc, no anything. Just a silent character who follows Taylor around for half the movie. Now, I get it. There's the sex appeal aspect. I mean, that's a big part of why Charlton Heston is naked or barely clothed for the majority of the movie. But it's still strange given the comparative progressive strength of the character of Zira. If having a love interest for Taylor was so important to the story, they could have just made fellow crewmate Stewart an actual character, rather than giving her only 15 seconds of purely unconscious screen time. Instead, we've got Nova, who honestly contributes just as much to the story as the unconscious Stewart does. So some of these story and character elements are a bit dated when we look at them with modern eyes, but what about the special effects? Admittedly, the space travel rear projection and shaky cam crash sequence are less than impressive today, but the makeup is still surprisingly effective. Planet of the Apes is nearly 60 years old now, so it's obviously a very different beast from the reboot films. Rather than motion capture and CGI, the ape makeup here was all practical. Because of their size, proportions, and movement, it's definitely obvious that it's humans in ape makeup, but it remains transformative nonetheless. The characters are identifiably unique, but it's not as easy to identify the actors under the makeup and prosthetics, which certainly makes it all much more immersive. Perhaps the only distracting issue with the makeup here is the mouth mobility. The mouths move, but there's not much manipulation between being open and closed, something that's most obvious early on in the ape section of the film when Zira and Cornelius are sneaking some quick kisses at work. But in spite of that limitation, the makeup here still works. Planet of the Apes is a film that's been highly regarded since its release. The specific reasons for that regard have perhaps shifted slightly over the years, but even today, this remains a solid film and an indelibly iconic part of cinematic sci-fi history. It's a thought-provoking and generally bleak story, but it's also highly entertaining. It's a movie that has a lot to say, but does so skillfully without ever really shoving its social commentary down the audience's throat, instead just presenting it as part of the story. And with one of the most memorable and affecting final shots in sci-fi, it's no wonder that this film spawned 4 sequels, a TV show, a cartoon, a remake, and a reboot film series. A lot has changed in the last 56 years, but a lot also hasn't changed. So Planet of the Apes remains just as relevant now as it was when it premiered in 1968. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. Pro number 1 is definitely the themes. Yes, this is a fun sci-fi movie with decent doses of action and adventure, but it's also a surprisingly thought-provoking film, absolutely loaded with ideas and social commentary. It's all a big allegory for our own society, touching on race, class, religion, science, and more. But it's not just the thematic content that's impressive here, it's the way it's presented. Everything is framed through the sci-fi lens of a highly intelligent ape society. The roles of apes and humans are reversed here, so by applying traditionally human issues to the ape society, the film's able to comment on all of these issues and themes without being overly obvious about it. I mean, talking monkeys definitely makes social themes more palatable and engaging. The second pro is the makeup. I realize that not everybody will agree with me on this one. Even within this franchise, things have advanced quite a bit. I mean, these days we get to watch photorealistic chimpanzees riding horses across fields, so the very concept of a person dressed up as a monkey may sound ridiculous to some, especially when it's definitely obvious that there's a person, a human, under the makeup and prosthetics. But it's still extremely effective somehow, transforming these actors into these ape characters. Makeup and hairstyling wasn't even a competitive category at the Oscars until 1981, but this film's makeup was so impressive that it was honored at the 41st Academy Awards in 1969, earning the film and makeup artist John Chambers a Special Achievement Oscar. Pro number 3 has got to be Zira and Cornelius. I know that Heston's Taylor is our main protagonist, but these two chimps have always been the heart and soul of this film, and much of the franchise, to me. They're easily the most interesting characters, and probably the most sympathetic as well. They have genuine character arcs, which can't really be said of anybody else in the film. Zira especially is a really interesting character, and one that's far more progressive than was typical for sci-fi action movies of the time period. On the con side, the biggest issue is actually a bit of an antithesis to my last pro, and it's the character of Nova. As strong and progressive of a character as Zira is, Nova is the exact opposite. She's a poorly written nothing of a character, serving no story purpose in this film. She has no background, no character development, no arc. She does nothing, wordlessly existing for the sole purpose of providing Taylor with a love interest and the film with some sex appeal. Now, this isn't something that's so detrimental to the film that it ruins anything for me. I mean, like I said, she's such a nothing character that it's simple enough to ignore her altogether, but it's still disappointing that this is what we get from the only other female character in the movie. To me, it's always seemed like a huge missed opportunity to not have Taylor's crewmate, Stewart, survive the opening crash and fulfill this love interest or companion role in a much more interesting way. Before I give you my rating and recommendations, I want to remind you that if you're interested in buying Planet of the Apes or any of the other films I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. I'm gonna give Planet of the Apes 4 out of 5 paws. With its thought-provoking allegorical themes and still impressive makeup effects, this sci-fi classic is able to overcome some character issues in order to present an entertaining, cautionary tale. I would recommend Planet of the Apes to just about anyone who likes science fiction. This movie came out in 1968, so it's important to keep that in mind with regard to pacing, action, and some of the effects, but it puts forward both really interesting world building as well as a variety of thought-provoking themes. If you like your sci-fi with a good deal of social commentary, this will be one for you. But if you just want to see some talking monkeys, this will also be one for you. If you liked Planet of the Apes, I would recommend Soylent Green, another bleak and thought-provoking sci-fi film starring Charlton Heston. This movie combines a crime thriller murder investigation with a futuristic dystopian setting. No monkeys in this one, but it is another movie with a shocking context-changing reveal. If you liked the courtroom scene and trial in Planet of the Apes, you might want to check out Inherit the Wind. This Stanley Kramer-directed courtroom drama tells the story of the Scopes monkey trial and the conflict between religion and science in that case. But like with Planet of the Apes, it's also an allegory, this time for the then current issue of McCarthyism. And if you prefer to stick with the Planet of the Apes franchise, you should watch Escape from the Planet of the Apes. This third film in the series focuses on Zira and Cornelius as they travel through time and find themselves in a situation not unlike what Taylor faced in this first film. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen Planet of the Apes? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, what's your favorite allegorical sci-fi film? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information on this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe if you're at it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainely Movies, the way life should be.